the order, and thereafter we had the cabinet secretaries, at least as we had counted from that. Opio Wandai, Energy; Hassan Ali Joho, Mining; Kipchumba Murkomen, Interior; Salim Vuria, Sports; William Kabogo, ICT; Engineer Eric, who is heads the water docket; Beatrice School; Davis Chirchir, Transport; Adan Duale, Health; Julius Ogamba Migos, Education; and Dr. Deborah Barasa Mlongo, who heads the environment docket. The ODM leadership thereafter had also viewed the body of the former Prime Minister, whose casket was draped in the Kenyan flag, and also as he was presented in the headscarf of the Orange Party and the color that he so adored. The chairperson, national chairperson, and Governor Gladys Wanga led the way, followed by the deputy party leaders, the Senator Godfrey Osotsi, Governor Simba Arati, the Secretary General Edwin Sifuna, Junet Mohamed, Governor Johnson Sakaja, Nairobi County, Rosa Buyu is among one of the elected leaders from Nyanza, Luo Nyanza, and also Millie Odhiambo, who we had seen earlier hanging on to one of the vehicles that was part of the entourage of the vehicles that had escorted the body of the former Prime Minister that was carried by the gun carriage from the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport to the Moi International Sports Center in Kasarani. We are waiting when the public will be allowed to start viewing the body of the former Prime Minister, a man who with so much ease has won over their hearts and has of course made evident by the multitude of people who today came out to receive his body at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, and the others who had waited for the body in Parliament. Now you can see them dancing, awaiting when they will be, of course, allowed to view the body of the former Prime Minister. It is a day that equally was dominated by other activities that had happened also in Siaya, his Bondo home, where we had seen his elder brother Oburu Odinga, who had gone there, the co-chair of that committee, that National Funeral Planning Committee, who had led a process which from our team, our sister station, Ramogi TV, had informed us that it's a process in Luo called Tero Nyak Dala, which is a Luo phrase that refers to the traditional ritual of announcing the death within the family of a member or a community. It is also a difficult period and a painful task, often involving the announcement by a close male relative, such as the father of the deceased, which is loosely translated to taking the cry home, emphasizing the emotional weight of what the process bears. The former Prime Minister, of course, he was symbolized by many, and as you had seen, even when his body is, the public awaits to view the body, how he was lying in the coffin, the neck scarf that is the orange color, and we haven't gotten the close enough pictures of the coffin, but we had seen the respects that were paid by the president, who had led the family and other government dignitaries, the deputy president, the former president Uhuru Kenyatta, the chief of the defense forces, General Charles Kahariri, and the three service commanders. The cabinet secretaries, we had seen 12 of them who had paid their respects, the ODM party leadership, which had followed course, and outside the public continues to wait. Here are lawmakers Millie Odhiambo and Babu Owino, who represents Embakasi East, and just in close proximity with the people who are awaiting for clearance before they are allowed to view the body of the former Prime Minister and pay their respects as well. In consultation with a member there, the Embakasi East lawmaker who is watching what's happening on the pitch as the people await when they will be allowed. And that has been the question that they have been asking. You can see the General Service Unit officers blocking them away from the entrance that not sure whether it leads to where exactly the body of the former Prime Minister is and how they will be allowed to also view the body of the Prime Minister, which was jetted back to the country this morning from Mumbai in India, following the long flight to and from Mumbai, which had taken off from the GUCAKAYA yesterday, 5 minutes to 7 p.m. local time, and landed some minutes past 3 a.m. before again flying back home, bearing the casket which had the body of the former Prime Minister. We can see the agitation among ODM supporters here, perhaps signifying something, and they seem seeking some direction on what happens next and when they will be allowed also to view the body of the former Prime Minister. We had also spoken to Jimmy Mbogo, who had given us an update regarding what has happened before they were dispersed and had gunshot sounds rather, and alongside Ben Kirui, who we had also in Kasarani. Once and we get hold of them, we'll be able to also seek further information from them. And this is the current state of affairs at the stadium. Quite a busy day also for the logistical team that had moved the viewing to this venue, given the logistical challenges it did present when earlier on the communication was yesterday issued by the Deputy President, Professor Kithure Kindiki, that this process will be happening in Parliament, and thereafter the quick decision that was made when the public who came out to wait for the body of the Prime Minister in Parliament had overpowered the security apparatus. And the intervention of the Speaker, Moses Masika Wetangula, didn't help either. And here's Millie Odhiambo speaking to the public. Yeah. And also by her side is her colleague lawmaker from the ODM party, seems to be giving suggestions that they will be allowed in to also view the body of the former Prime Minister. And quintessential politician, also one of the most consequential women in Kenya's politics, whose debates in Parliament have been characterized by astuteness and steadfastness and preparations, as she has always modeled herself to be. They seem to be the two only lawmakers, and Babu Owino and Millie Odhiambo, who are here to speak to the public. And Millie had suggested some minutes ago that could be the likelihood that they will be allowed, and it's the planning process of how that will be managed, which was the challenging part of what's been happening in Kasarani since the body of the former Prime Minister was brought here aboard the military gun carriage after the president yesterday, through a proclamation after he addressed the nation from State House, said that the former Prime Minister will be accorded state funeral and all the privileges that come with that process. Still, our team at the Kasarani Stadium, where this is unfolding since has been unfolding, the passion of Raila's presence seems to be so strong, as you can see also amongst the supporters. This is a young generation that probably may have not been there when the struggle for multipartyism happened, but in so many ways the ODINGA influence seems to have driven them all the way here. How it happens is going to be what we are monitoring, and the public viewing of the body of the former Prime Minister, Raila Odinga. For now, I'm joined by my colleague Gatete Njoroge, who is at the stadium. They were there alongside Ben Kirui and Jimmy Mbogo. Gatete, a good evening. Seems to be a long haul. Looks like a long day. Any hints at when the public will be allowed to view the body of the former Prime Minister?
Good evening, Ayub. Indeed, it has been a long day, and we even think it will be a long night, Ayub. We're inside Kasarani Stadium, and we've been here from around 11 a.m., Ayub. And since that time, we had a crowd surging, where thousands of people had turned out in large numbers to be able to get a chance to view the body of the late former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, Ayub. But until now, Ayub, the public has not been able to view the body of the late Prime Minister Raila Odinga. This is because at around 4 p.m., the crowd that I had gathered here in their thousands tried to approach the VIP section. The VIP section where the President William Ruto, together with the retired President Uhuru Kenyatta and other dignitaries, were there waiting for the body of the late Prime Minister Raila Odinga to arrive at the stadium before the official commencement of the process of viewing the body. But at that particular point, the police officers, the security officers who are there, they had to actually shoot in the air and also lob tear gas to be able to just disperse the surging crowd. From that particular moment, Ayub, a good number of those who had turned up at Kasarani Stadium, they left the stadium. But we still have a sizable number that is still here. And when the leaders were viewing the body of the late Honorable, the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, what happened is that we saw the crowd. They moved from the terraces and they came to the middle of the pitch where they lined up, and we thought they'll be allowed to view the body. But until now, for the last about 30 minutes, there's no clear communication on whether they'll be allowed inside to be able to view the body. What is happening at the moment, there's a standoff. You can see there are those who have lined up, and if my cameraman can just show you closer to the VIP, you can see there are a number of security officers, majorly the GSU security officers, who are blocking a good number of people who are actually going upstairs to try and access the VIP section where the body of the late Right Honorable former Prime Minister is lying in state. At the moment, Ayub, let me say it's a standoff. We are not yet sure. We have seen a number of leaders up there trying to calm the crowd, but at the moment, Ayub, there is no clear communication on whether they'll be allowed to go inside and access the area where the body of the late former Prime Minister is lying in state. But at the moment, Ayub, we are camping here. We are trying to see how the situation will be, and we'll be bringing you up to speed with what will be happening, Ayub.
Gatete, thank you. Much appreciated for the brief assessment that you had given us. Still, we are keeping an eye on the Moi International Sports Center, Kasarani, and waiting for, or keeping an eye in that regard, for when the members of the public will be allowed to also view the body of the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. And on your screens at the moment is the Embakasi MP, East MP Babu Owino, who is seemed to be giving some directions to a member of the security agencies. A while ago, he was in the company of his colleague lawmaker Emilio, as the supporters of the former Prime Minister and members of the public gather, awaiting when they will be allowed to see the man they had cherished for so long. Listening to the public and perhaps what they are saying, our cameras still trained on whether they will be allowed to the entrance. The lawmakers were allowed to pay their respects to the former Prime Minister. A representation, of course, which was across board, including former President Uhuru Kenyatta and the Chief of the Defense Forces, General Charles Kahari, and the three commanders of the three services, the Air Force, the Navy, and the Army, the cabinet secretaries that we had seen, and also the leadership of the ODM party. Quite interesting scenes that we are seeing, and we'll be keeping an eye here on Kasarani to see what happens next. And also in Bondo, where on Sunday the former Prime Minister will be laid to rest. We'll give you the updates as they develop. And Kasarani will be our focal point of attention and where our cameras are. Yes, Kide. Finally, the reality seems to be setting in.
I yield the floor to my brother Materi.
Okay, please.
Yeah, I know it's quite difficult, a very, very difficult moment for both of us with the experience that we had with the former Prime Minister. And immediately the coffin was presented in readiness for viewing. Beside it was President Ruto, the former President Uhuru Kenyatta, then Mama Aida was there. And the thought that immediately rang in my mind is, where is Raila? That is the kind of history, that is the kind of life that we are used to. In the history of post-multi-party Kenya, from 1994 onwards, Raila has always been very consistent, very permanent, very present in all our national decisive moments, be it celebrations, be it trying times. Raila has always been there. And therefore, I can feel what my other supporters of Baba are feeling, the emptiness that comes with it, the denial of even accepting that Mzee is departed from our midst is slowly sinking in. And it's very, very difficult given the history that he has left behind for his shoes to be filled. I'm so sure with the history that he has given us for over 31 years, because Raila from 1982, he has been active in politics. That would give him almost 40-something years, going into detention from 1982 to 1986, being released for a short time, then going back again in detention from 1989 to 1991. He comes out, he has to flee because there was a rumor that again he was to be arrested and detained again. He goes to Norway, he comes back, joins the father and the young Turks to fight for multi-party democracy. He's again very present in our lives in 1997 when he contests the first time for the presidency against Moi. He comes back again to contest in 2007, 2022, 2017. So he has been a permanent feature in our history, and therefore you can feel the emptiness that comes with that, because this is of someone, the way you aptly captured it, Ayub, who has been a buffer against authoritarianism. And in our interaction, even with the young people there, they were like, who will be there to defend us? When push comes to shove, who will be there to defend us that now Baba is not around? So you can understand the emptiness that comes with that. You can understand the kind of sadness that comes with that. You can understand why it is quite emotional even for us to figure out what is going to happen next. But gallantly, he has left behind sons and daughters who he has mentored, who he has trained, and who he has shown the ropes of leadership, who are able to take up the task to fill his shoes, though it is not going to be easy.
And Kidi, Sir Winston Churchill once said that there are politicians who make the weather. And certainly Raila Odinga was among that list, is it?
That goes without saying, because I think, again, to build up on what Winston Churchill said, William Shakespeare told us that the good men do, and I think that is in his play Julius Caesar, that the good men do are often interred with their bones, but the bad they do usually live on long after they are dead. For Raila's case, I think the reverse will be true, because as we are seated here, as we are viewing the body of the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, I was reflecting at what a visionary man Raila was. You realize that every major milestones we have made as a country in the area of governance had Raila's imprint on it. If you begin with the road network infrastructure, the bulk of that, the thinking that went into that happened during President Kibaki and the first phase of the implementation. And remember, for 8 of the 10 years when President Kibaki was in office, road ministry was solidly under the belt of Raila Odinga. The first 3 years as minister himself, and when he was prime minister, he appointed both Kipkalia Kones and Franklin Bett to take care of the roads docket, and they did a wonderful job. Today, driving around Nairobi, I can't imagine how driving across Nairobi was before the bypasses that we see around. And when Raila Odinga, then as minister, was conceiving the bypass project, he received a lot of backlash from the political class. And in Raila, we see what it is to believe in something, stick to it, even when the naysayers are telling you to the contrary. Away from the infrastructure, people have given Raila credit about the constitution and the new constitution and the reforms and progress. I certainly do not want to belabor that, but I yield the floor to my brother Matere by saying that Raila is certainly a politician who lived to that adage by Winston Churchill.
That he made the weather.
He did, made the weather.
Yeah. And Alex, then for the mentorship that he has provided for young Kenyan, some who had some who experienced that close proximity like you did, and Kidi himself, and the others, especially those who were born post-1997, what are the lessons that they now carry forward in the new Kenya that will be born, minus Raila Odinga, given his influence, his stature, and at times his word that pulled this country from the brink?
Ayub, there is one erudite philosopher who said that best leaders make new leaders. That for you to leave a legacy, then there must be that one who will take up who will take up the mantle from you, who will understand the direction that you are leading, who will understand your ideologies. And by this token, Raila was a good leader. Raila was the best leader that we've ever had, because if you look at the number of mentees that he had, at the screen we are seeing Babu Owino, we see the likes of Caleb Amisi, we see the likes of Senator Sifuna in Nairobi, we see the likes of Mark Nyamita. All these are products of Raila Odinga school of thought. Then those ones who are yet to make it to parliament, because he also gave us a platform to grow our leadership skills. He towers above many other national leaders in respect of how he gave the young people space. He understood that mainstreaming young people, Kenya being largely a youthful country, is quite important in the development and future prospects of this country. And I think the way Sifuna aptly captures it, that if it were not for Raila, then probably he wouldn't be the Secretary General of ODM. If you picture that, him inheriting the position, or rather getting the position from Anyang' Nyong'o, who is basically a contemporary, it's quite phenomenal that Raila had a lot of respect, had a lot of trust, even in the capacity capacity of young leaders, and he provided a platform for them to grow. The second bit, Ayub, is from where I sit, if you want to know the character of someone, you look at his contemporaries. If you look at the Right Honorable Raila contemporaries, being Anyang' Nyong'o one of them, they actually attended the African Leadership Forum in Abeokuta in Nigeria together. They are the same people who had even gone to Singapore to meet Lin Kuan Yew. And you see the kind of perspective, the kind of vision that even Anyang' Nyong'o has been able to actualize in Kisumu. These are the contemporaries that Raila kept very close to him. And therefore, going forward, the kind of ideology that Raila has taught us, that one of social democracy, and that's why some of us are quite keen on issues that continue affecting young people, because it's only Raila who told us again when we were back as student leaders that it is important for education to be affordable, that education is the only tool for transformation. If you'd want to run away from poverty, then you need to make education quite accessible to even the least privileged in our society. And therefore, those are some of the ideals that he has inculcated to us. If you look at programs like healthcare, why we are so keen on ensuring that we have a universal cover that even would ensure that even the most underserved in our society can be able to afford and access quality healthcare. These are some of the ideals that Raila has inculcated to us. Top among all those, definitely, Ayub, is the aspect of governance. If it were not for Raila Odinga, the way my colleague Kidi Mwaga has aptly captured, the issue of devolution, I really doubt if Kenya would be enjoying devolution now. Before the onset of devolution in 2010, after the promulgation of the Constitution, there were counties in this country that never had a single kilometer of tarmac road. We never had water, we never had healthcare, but because of some of these things that Raila was so passionate about, he was able to push into the Constitution, and it has been actualized. And therefore, the challenge that remains to us as the people that he mentored is how do we strengthen and deepen devolution to be able to serve the purpose that, or rather the vision that he had when he was pushing for aspects of devolution. When you talk about education, how would Raila have envisaged the kind of education that would want to be? When you talk about issues of unemployment, what are the key changes that he would want effected in our constitution, or rather even in our policies, to be able to ensure that we have been able to tackle the issue of unemployment that continues to bedevil this country going forward.
And Kidi, is it a dream deferred for the country that Odinga had so cherished a parliamentary system of governance, pushing for it before we had come up with what we have at the moment? And is this what then the discussion should be revolving around going forward for equity and social justice that he has advocated for and championed at the same time?
I think one credit we do not give Raila enough is how he was gifted with massive intellectual brilliance. Because when Raila was advocating for parliamentary system of governance, I think there was both not only the brilliance into it and all, but also foresight. Because when you come to the question of transfer of power, pure presidentialism has got what you call inherent problems to it. That transfer of power within the presidential system has to take place in the streets. And history has demonstrated that it can be very disruptive. You know, every year we got into elections, Ayub, a year before the elections, capital takes flight to the sidelines. And a year after elections, it takes between 6 months and it takes about 6 months to 1 year after elections for that capital to come back into the center of the economy. In parliamentary system, you realize that if the country has lost faith in the prime minister, then what happened to Liz Truss happens to you. Liz Truss was in office for 45 days, but then when he was unable to earn the trust of... Oh, sorry. It's a moment of great personal and national grief.
Yes, yeah,
so we can mix these things. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yes, and even Boris Johnson before her. The other thing is that a parliamentary system also can promise stability. When Lee Kuan Yew had opportunity to lead Singapore, because of how he was able to earn the trust of the people, the people were able to keep him in office for quite some time.
Until 1990?
Yeah, until 1990, from the 60s. Yeah. And even Margaret Thatcher.